provide teamwork. So easy teamwork with EPDM, very exciting topic. With me is
Scott Lidgey, and I'll be doing the technical demo.
Sounds good. So I guess let's click away here. There's a couple slides I wanted to intro it off with, just to set the tone of the topic, and then we'll get going with the goal for today. Whoops. Why don't you bring them all up there? I guess I must have added an animation. So the main thing we wanted to talk about is teamwork. So to start it off, we thought we'd talk about the key issues that we're finding companies are having with teamwork. So really standardization is a big one. So maintaining folder standards and file name standards is a big one. Overwriting files is another one. So accidentally overwriting files, and how do we prevent that? Figuring out who's working on what, so coordinating design and work, so assigning work or seeing who's working on it and keeping track of it. Keeping a full history of who's worked on what and who made what changes, so there's a lot of responsibility shifted towards the designer to make sure that they know what they're doing, because it's all traceable. And then the idea of putting work on somebody else's desk. I say desk because it's it's not the way that we've been doing it in the past, where it's all paper processes. It's quite typical for customers to have essentially like an electronic desk, a task list, if you will, of files that they need to work through, and of course seeing what work is on your desk. So what work needs to review, what work needs to be, if you're in charge of simulation or analysis, what work needs to be have some sort of validation done on it, that sort of idea. So a lot of flexibility in the process. Before we move on, I thought I'd do a couple of poll questions throughout. So let's do a quick poll question on what challenges you have working with the team. So if you could, so we'll do that. So if you could click on, and you can click as many as you want on there. All right. So it looks like it was kind of a tie for overwriting files and standardization were the big ones for sure. So thanks very much. Thanks everybody for voting there. So I thought I'd introduce just a couple key concepts of EPDM for those of you who are new to it, and then we'll get right into the technical content. Just for if you're not aware, it's built on Windows Explorer, very easy to start working, and on the topic of teamwork, very easy for your team to adopt it and make it as a place for them to coordinate together. Another key capability is the ability to revision manage any file. So any files that your team needs to look for, revision manage, coordinate on, whether it's CAD files or Office documents, any file literally can go in this vault very easily. The idea is to easily find files. So if you're when you're working as a team, finding which file is on your desk, by workflow status, or being able to find files that another team member worked on, or for reuse, that's an easy thing to be able to do. And then standardization. So as we saw, majority of the users out there selected standardization is a key aspect of working with a team. So standardizing how you launch new projects, launch new folders, launch new files, standardize the change request process if you needed, if you wanted to create a standard form or file for that. And lastly, workflows, so standardizing how files go from one person to another, and you can do a lot of automation in there as well. So you're taking work off individuals' plates by automating the administrative overhead and getting people coordinated together. So before we go to the technical content, I'm going to ask one other question, and that's which files do you need to revision manage? So just curious on the types of files that you work with. Feel free to check off all of them if they're all relevant for you. So click away there. We'll keep this open for a minute. And so with that, we'll pass it over to Scott, and you can take the technical lead on showing you what EPDM is all about.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Well, I thought we'd just go down that list we just discussed and show how our Javelin solution using EPDM solves a lot of these problems. So let's talk about first the maintaining folder and file name structures. We can solve this issue with the use of EPDM templates. Templates can do lots of different things for us, but one would be a simple project launch, for example, to maintain a standard folder structure. So let's take a quick peek at that. As Eric mentioned earlier, I mean, one of the nicest features about EPDM is it's very easy for anybody to pick up and use because it is an extension of Windows Explorer. So you can see I am in my Windows environment. The only difference is instead of a standard Windows folder, we're going into our little vault here that has a little more control and a lot more information available to us. And just like you would create a new folder inside Windows, you'll see I do this similar thing, only I'm going to leverage one of my templates instead this time. So let's launch a new project, and I've been given a few things here. We have some numbering systems in place to automatically increment project numbers, for example. Give this a name, so we'll just call this new clamp design. We can categorize these things with subcategories if you have the need for that. This is all configurable to whatever you guys need to see. Project Manager today will pick on Eric, and the customer will use Dassault. So a quick few pieces of information, hit OK. EPDM knows where and how I like to keep my folder structures. We do this by date, for example. And so under 2014, you'll see our new project has been created, and all of our subfolders are also there. And then I'm able to start putting in new documents, whether I'm starting from scratch or just simply copying and pasting a bunch of files in here. So just put a few files in there that we can work with today. So a neat thing here is I'm checking them into the system. This just lets the system know what the files are, and then you'll see a neat feature here that it understands all the referencing that's involved inside file types like SolidWorks documents. And another nice feature is if you're missing any documents, you'll be prompted about that, which is really cool, especially if you're getting customers from clients that you need to incorporate into your system. All right, another neat feature I just thought I'd mention, because we've just put those files in there, and because we've managed our folder structure nicely, those folders are containing a lot of great information, and it's just a time saver for us. You'll notice that down here in the title block, that it's already been populated with a lot of great information, like anything about the project number, and who's actually drawing it right now. So just a time saver, and again, we're eliminating errors along our way. Let's go to the next step, which is the problem of accidentally overwriting files. The nice thing about EPDM is it's fully versioned and has a full version revision history. That just allows us to go back in time to any release or any version we may have saved, and it just gives us a lot of capability here. Maybe design ideas. You want to try different designs, and you want to have that ability to back up and to a previous version and then go down another path. With EPDM that facilitates this. So let's take a quick peek at that as well. So inside EPDM, we put these files here. Let's say we wanted to try some different designs. All right, so for example, let's take this part, and we'll just check it out to let the system know that I'm working on this. And we'll just open it up in our SolidWorks. Okay, now we're free to design just the way you do today without a PDM system. We'll just start sketching. Maybe we'll go in there and draw a new base on here. We'll just put a square base on that part like that. We save the file up, and then what we can do is we need to tell the system that we've made this change, so we check it into the system. And you can do that through Windows like we saw earlier, or you can do it right through your CAD interface, which you see on the right-hand side here. So again, we'll give it history. We'll give it what we did to the file so that we have accountability and history that we can search on. So here we just changed the base, let's say, and check the file in. Now, if this was a mistake, or we preferred the earlier design, we have that history that we can now go back to. Again, we could do it right through the CAD interface or through Windows. So anybody that has access to, maybe we'll close this down, we'll do it through the Windows environment. So there's that part file we just changed. But then if we want to go back in time, we've got that full history to be able to access. So maybe we will go to the previous version, version 1, and now you'll see that the preview updates to the older version, and vice versa. If you want to get back up to the latest file, we'll just right-click, get the latest version, and again, we're back up to date.
So going back to the survey question, one of the key things was overwriting each other's files. It's with this whole check-in and check-out process, it literally makes it impossible to overwrite each other's work. Even if somebody were to check out and save new work, you can always go back to the way somebody else saved it at a previous point in time. So that's a game changer for our customers.
All right, another neat feature is the ability to work on projects as a group. So being able to coordinate this is key. And again, EPDM is there to facilitate that. Just with that ability to check in, check out, and control who has the ability to make changes to parts and assemblies as one group. So if we go into our SolidWorks environment, you'll see here's a pretty large assembly project that in some companies you might want to work on this together as a team. And in the right-hand column here again, that glimpse into the whole project, you'll see who has these files checked out. So you'll notice that myself, I'm working on the main boom assembly, while Eric here is working on the subassembly. And we've got other users like Neil who's working on another subassembly or a drawing for that matter. And we can just work on these things together. And as changes occur, you'll be notified. And you see we get some nice highlighting and some symbols that you learn about things that are happening behind the scenes. So for example, this cylinder guard here has been changed while I've been working on the main assembly. Well, I want to make sure I'm looking at the latest. So again, I'll just simply right-click and make sure I get the latest version of that. No need to reload or shut down this file and reopen it. We can just update, and there you see the newest guard is available, and I continue on my way with my work. So again, it's just EPDM is just doing a nice job of controlling who has access to the file, and again, we're eliminating that old issue of having files overwritten accidentally. Okay, keeping track of who made changes. Let's take a look at how EPDM again maintains a full history, accountability, and the ability to report on any of these changes that are happening to the documents. Maybe we'll take another project that's a little farther along. So for example, you'll notice that maybe this drawing, we'll take a peek at that. If we look at its history, you'll see all the different versions and all the people who have made changes to these files. All right? So we could actually print this out in a nice PDF or printed document, which is more or less a report of what you're seeing here. Other things you can do is just to nail home that whole bit about history tracking. If we look at the files we just put in there, let's say I do some things like move files around or rename them. That would be a difficult thing without a PDM system. Well, inside here, if I have the rights to move files like this, or rename them, for example, I'm not afraid that the assemblies are going to be broken or the references are lost because the system manages all that for us in the background. If I pick on the part and go to where used, it still shows me where that document's being used right now, and it's in that drawing file, which is in that project over here, right? And the history has been tracked on that. If I look at the history of that file now, you'll see when we put it in. And then right here, you'll notice that we've got a listing for the Scott went and moved it from this location to this folder. And then he went and renamed it from the original file name to the current. So
I was going to say, and I know that a lot of our customers that have regulations that they need to abide by, that is huge. Like being able to see which team member did what, comments along the way, why did they do that? Like they're able to really step up what their company is able to deliver as far as like ISO certification and stuff like that. We have customers who use this to enforce processes and history, and when they go for an ISO audit downstream, that it ends up being a half-hour or hour meeting as opposed to the days or weeks that it took to validate in the past. So, big difference to how we're coordinating teams, keeping track of who works on what there.
All right, the ability to put work on someone else's desk. Again, in the past, or maybe even present for some of you, I mean, we're becoming a more global companies, and we need to pass this information sometimes not only to the guy next door in the next cubicle, but maybe to the next country. And people will be shipping drawings around. Well, when you have a nice electronic centralized location of everything, we can just notify people when there's work to be done. Again, EPDM does this all for us. Part of the notification way we can notify people is through our workflow. And Eric mentioned this earlier briefly, but that's how we get a lot of automation into the system. As we go through, pass files through a process like editing and approvals and change requests and so on, we can have the system notify people when there's work waiting for them to be done. And again, we can automate other things like creation of PDFs or stamping revisions on your drawings and so on. Let's take a peek at some of this. If we go back over to our project that we put in the system, maybe this was a new design of this part drawing here. We'll just preview this so you can get a feel of what we're looking at. And as the designer, I'm done. I finished my design, and I now want to pass this on to maybe a manager for review. So what we'll do is I'll just push it through the workflow, and my next step is to submit it for approval. And so we're going to submit the drawing, add in comments for history again. Let's just say new design for now. And then the notification comment will be my email message that I'm going to send to my manager. So we'll just say, please review. And then my system is set up where I can select who I'm working with today. So I'm going to work with Eric. And we hit OK. Here's a little bit of automation I have set up in my system where it's leveraging SolidWorks Professional's Design Checker to check my drawing over, make sure I'm following all my company standards before it actually gets submitted. So it's been passed off. You note that the state in my workflow where I'm waiting for approval now. And as the designer, I've been sort of locked out. So now I can no longer check it out or make design changes because my job's done and I've passed the work on to Eric's desk. So let's see what Eric sees in the background. So let's log off for myself. And while we log back in here, we'll just look at the PowerPoint quickly again. So I'm logging in as Eric. And that little sound, you may have heard the sound, I'm not sure. But that's the notification system that's built into EPDM. But let's just look at the last topic here, which is seeing what work is on your desk. And that's what Eric has heard now, is that he has been given work to do. And that ability to get the notifications automatically. And we're also going to talk about how we can search on what might be on our desk waiting for us as well. So the notification sound you heard just gives Eric a quick little email message here. Really nice because it gives you a quick intro to what's needed from him, what's the latest history comment. But what's really cool is the hyperlinking that takes me right down to maybe even the history or the properties of that file. So if we look at the history of that drawing file document, you can quickly see that. And again, print out or compare drawings and so on. Or you can just link to the folder structure where those files are.
And these notifications can also be sent through your email. In fact, most of our customers we set up to go through their email server instead of the database notifications, but it's nice to have both options. The idea is to get that information out to the right person at the right time.
So let's say I deleted that message and I forget where those files were located. Let's talk about searching. And so again, we can go to the search. We have different search cards for different purposes. Maybe a guy on the shop floor needs a nice simple search to find part numbers or descriptions. Because we can search on a whole lot more than just a file name inside the system. You can search on any property that we have inside of our data cards or inside the files. So one that might be more pertinent here today would be looking for everything that's waiting for my approval. This is something that Eric always does, so he's got it actually here as a favorite. So at the click of a button, he can quickly see all those different files that are waiting for his approval. If he wants to narrow that search down, he can do so by just maybe by today's date only, and there he just only has to approve one drawing today. And then again, we can start to automate a lot of things here. If you remember what the drawing looked like, he could review it right inside in the preview if he wanted to. If he double-clicked and he didn't have SolidWorks, it would open up a full eDrawings viewer. And then again, we can leverage that workflow to automate and tell people that they have work to do possibly. So as the manager, if he chose changes required, well, he's going to now, again, notify a designer, and that loop starts again, where the designer would make the change, and he would submit it again. All right, so let's do an approve. Let's say he's happy with this. We'll just say, looks great. And mine's password protected. If you need that extra level of security so people can't just walk up and approve work on your system, you can have that.
I know that a lot of industries consider that password protection the form of electronic signature. I know that we've been working with some medical clients that have written basically that is their electronic signature, and it's been passed okay. So I know that not every industry or every industry has their own requirements, but happy to work with you to see what we need to do to get that electronic approval done.
So you can see a lot of nice things happened here. It's actually sitting in an approved state, which is great. But if you actually look in the title block, we've stamped the revision, and Eric's actually signed it off here as well. And like we saw in the workflow, there's lots of other things that could be happening behind the scenes. I mean, a lot of people like to have a PDF version of their drawing. Well, our system's going in there as they approve drawings, and you'll see there's the 108 drawing from today, and it's been approved and PDF'd into a certain location, maybe for sales, or again, maybe a shop floor location.
Yeah, it's nice to add that automation where possible. In fact, a lot of customers, they see the value, obviously, of keeping teams organized, but when it comes down to justifying, obviously the investment in getting a system like EPDM, having tasks off workers' plates like automation of PDF is a great way to do the justification. It's like we are literally taking this work away from you, and we're automating it because you have a controlled way to do it. So that was great, Scott. Anything else, or is that's perfect? Great, and we're way ahead of schedule, which is amazing. I'm sure there's lots of things that people need to get back to today. I think I had one slide that I wanted to end off on, and that's just a little bit about very basic Javelin implementation. We've been working with this system, I think it's around 9 years now coming up on. Before SolidWorks even purchased it, it used to be called another system. We have a strong history with this, and we have a number of application engineers that do implementations. I think we have 4 people actually that do them quite regularly. Over the years, we're trying our best to fit this solution and streamline it into fit companies of any size. And really, the idea is to be able to offer something that any company can afford and justify. And the way we've done that is setting up a Javelin standard. So really, the vault that you saw today that Scott did a demo on, there's obviously a lot more to it in the back end, but the nuts and bolts of it, the properties we're working with, data cards, and some basic processes are all part of a standard Javelin offering. Not quite everything you saw there was, but we talk with you to understand what you get as part of a Javelin implementation. And the way we do that, we can do the installation. It takes a few hours. Usually schedule as a half-day remote session. Have a day either remote or on site where we do some basic configuration and we do some orientation and confirm that it has some of the security settings and protocols that you need, and then doing a little bit of follow-up afterwards. So literally in a matter of days, we can get EPDM set up. We've actually been doing this with some clients completely remotely nowadays as well. Internet connections are getting better, and it's much easier to hit those remote areas. And so there really are some, call it lightweight options to be able to get the biggest impact out of EPDM, but not with the biggest budgets. So just wanted to make sure everybody's aware of those options. We do, of course, want to make sure that we have an implementation that makes sense for you, and you're going to get the results out of it that you need. Okay. with that, we're going to end off on a quick poll question. So we'll bring up the last poll here. Very simple one for you. Was this webinar helpful? Right. And if you're if you're not sticking around for questions, you need to get on with your day. Thanks very much for attending, and we look forward to working with you for EPDM.